Todd Gurley was once among the top players in the NFL, recording over 2,000 yards and 19 touchdowns from scrimmage in his stellar 2017 campaign. His insane season wasn't enough to garner the MVP away from Tom Brady, but it is a season that will be remembered. In only 5 seasons in the league, Gurley has recorded over 5,400 rushing yards, 2,000 receiving yards, and 70 total touchdowns. Gurley was on top of the league, but after a quick downfall beginning in the 2018 NFL playoffs, he found himself a free agent. He has dealt with injuries over the course of his career and now has arthritis in his left knee. What was once a thriving talent is now a major question mark. How did one of the most talented running backs ever become expendable? This is the rise and fall of Todd Gurley. Todd Jerome Gurley II was born on August 3, 1994 in Baltimore, Maryland. Gurley attended Tarboro High School in North Carolina, where he was a 3-sport athlete. He played football, basketball, and ran track for the Vikings. On the football field, Gurley played running back and defensive back. He was a special teams contributor during his sophomore season as Tarboro won the state championship. As a junior, he ran for 1,472 yards and 26 touchdowns. In addition, he made 79 tackles, an interception, and forced a fumble. Gurley led the Vikings to a state championship and was named Rocky Mount Telegram All-Area Offensive Player of the Year. The following year, he put up a monster 2,600 yards and 38 touchdowns. He rushed for 242 yards and 4 touchdowns in a state championship win as a senior, helping complete a three-peat for the Vikings. He was named North Carolina AP Player of the Year for his senior season heroics. Gurley was also a stud hurdler and sprinter. He was a top 100-meter dash runner, qualifying for the state meet in 2011, and he competed in the 110-meter hurdles for Team USA at the 2011 World Youth Championships in athletics. According to Rivals.com, Gurley was a 4-star recruit and listed as the 5th best running back in the class. He committed to play college football at Georgia under Mark Richt. Gurley started his freshman season as a backup for the Bulldogs. He rushed for over 100 yards and 2 scores in his first game against Buffalo. The next week, Gurley took over as the starter and rushed for 65 yards against Missouri. In a game late in the season against Georgia Southern, Gurley surpassed 1,000 yards on the year to become the second true freshman in school history to do so, the other being former Heisman Trophy winner Herschel Walker. Gurley finished the season with 1,385 yards and a school freshman record 17 touchdowns on 222 carries. He was named first team All-SEC. He started off his sophomore campaign with a bang, running for a career-high 154 yards and adding 2 scores in the Bulldogs opener against Clemson. Missing 3 games due to an ankle injury, Gurley appeared in 10 games, rushing for 989 yards and 10 touchdowns on 165 carries and making an impact through the air with 37 receptions for 441 yards and 6 touchdowns. He was named second team All-SEC for his efforts. In addition to his heroics on the field, Gurley joined the Georgia indoor track team in the spring. He ran the 60-meter hurdle and set the 7th fastest time in school history. Gurley dominated in Georgia's first 5 contests of 2014, including a 198-yard 3-touchdown performance against Clemson. But on October 9th, Gurley was suspended over a violation of NCAA rules. After a speedy 2-day investigation, it was announced that Gurley had received $3,000 over 2 years for signed autographs and memorabilia. He sat out 4 games for the violation and returned for the Bulldogs rivalry game against Auburn. In his first game back, Gurley went down with a torn ACL, ending his junior season and ultimately his time at Georgia, as he later decided to forego his final season of eligibility for the 2015 NFL Draft. Gurley finished his final season in Athens with 911 yards and 9 touchdowns on 123 carries. Gurley's draft analysis has its fair share of strengths, boasting about his rare blend of speed and power and the immense power in his legs, and that he shows balance through contact, adding that he is a professional decisive runner, hard to tackle on an angle, and has the speed to house it. Another big strength listed is one that would soon translate to the pro level, stating that Gurley Gurley is able to factor out of the backfield with soft hands and has the ability to adjust to throws. The weaknesses on Gurley are exactly what you'd expect, stating his previous injuries and that questions about whether he'll return back to his play speed are a big concern. The bottom line on his analysis is that rehab work and the NFL scouting combine medicals will be extremely important for Gurley's draft stock, adding that he has the talent to be a top 5 NFL running back, but his ACL tear clouds the short-term picture. He didn't get to participate in most drills at the combine due to his injury, but Mike Mayock claimed that he has Olympic-type speed. Overall, Gurley was considered to be a first-round talent and was compared to Marshawn Lynch. At the 2015 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams made the Georgia product the first running back off the board, taking him with the 10th pick. Todd Gurley's offseason leading up to the regular season couldn't have gone any better health-wise. His rehab went ahead of schedule, and he even practiced with pads on during the preseason. Soon after, Gurley was cleared for full contact. Gurley was eased into action during his NFL debut, rushing for 9 yards against the Steelers. The following week, he started off slow with 2 yards in the first half, but exploded for 144 yards in the second half versus the Cardinals. He rushed for at least 128 yards over the Rams' next 3 contests, led the league in total touchdowns and yards from scrimmage at the conclusion. He had 279 carries for 1,305 yards and a league-high 13 touchdowns, along with 64 receptions for 788 yards and 6 touchdowns. In his first career postseason appearance, he had 101 rushing yards in a loss to the Falcons in the wild card round. Gurley's name was heavily in the MVP race, but he finished second to Tom Brady. He was named NFC Offensive Player of the Year, was named a first-team All-Pro, made the Pro Bowl, and moved up to 6th on the NFL Top 100 list. The 2018 season was quite the roller coaster for both Gurley and the Rams. Ahead of the season, the Rams exercised the 5th-year option on Gurley's rookie deal and signed him to a 4-year, $60 million extension to make him the highest-paid running back in NFL history. Gurley started the season on a tear and recorded 3 rushing touchdowns for the second time in his career in Week 2. In Week 6 against the Broncos, he ran for a career-high 208 yards and added 2 touchdowns to earn NFC Offensive Player of the Week. He had 3 total scores the following week and was named NFC Offensive Player of the Month for October after rushing for 462 yards and 7 touchdowns and adding 157 yards and 2 touchdowns receiving. He set a new team record in Week 10, rushing for a touchdown in his 13th consecutive game. Gurley continued to dominate, rushing for 132 yards and 2 scores in Week 12 against the Lions to help the Rams clinch the NFC West title. He was named NFC Offensive Player of the Week. In a Week 15 loss to the Eagles, he rushed for 2 scores. The Rams and Gurley were believed to be on top of the world after Week 15, but so much was going on behind the scenes. Gurley suffered knee inflammation and sat out the final 2 games of the regular season, recording 1,251 yards and a league-leading 17 touchdowns off 256 carries and making 59 receptions for 580 yards and 4 touchdowns on the year. He was named a first-team All-Pro and made the Pro Bowl. He returned for the Rams' playoff run, recording 115 yards and a touchdown in their divisional round victory over the Cowboys. Everything looked to be back to normal, but it was far from. The Rams continued to strive, beating the Saints in the NFC Championship, but it was that monumental win for Los Angeles that displayed the first real concern for Gurley. He had only 4 carries for 10 yards and a touchdown, catching 3 passes for 3 yards. The build-up to the Super Bowl was on, and one of the most talked about storylines was, you guessed it, Todd Gurley's health. Some reports claimed that he was healthy, while others said his knee was worse than believed. The Rams struggled offensively in the big game, scoring only 3 points in a loss. Gurley had just 10 carries for 25 yards. Less than a month after the devastating defeat, it was reported that Gurley had arthritis in his left knee, an injury that would impact his workload and longevity. Arthritis is common for those who previously have torn an ACL, similar to Gurley during his time at Georgia. Arthritis is the inflammation of the joints and causes pain, stiffness, and swelling. The uncertainty and concern built into the diagnosis stem back to the inability to cure the condition. A once durable star was likely to see a health decline. Gurley's best days were clearly behind him. Heading into the 2019 season, a billion questions loomed about Gurley's injury status and how the Rams plan to use him. He saw a change in production and declined in every category. In 2018, Gurley led the league in rushing yards at the midway point of the season, but in 2019, he saw himself at 29th. His best performance of the season came in Week 11 against the Bears when he had 97 yards and a score on the ground and 3 catches for 36 yards. Overall, the season was a huge, confusing disappointment for Gurley and the Rams as they missed the playoff 1 year removed from the Super Bowl. Gurley recorded 223 carries for 857 yards and 12 touchdowns on the ground, adding 23 receptions for 207 yards and 2 touchdowns. Questions loomed into the offseason until on March 19th, the Rams decided to release Gurley 2 years into his $60 million extension. Less than a day after being cut, Ian Rappaport reported that he signed a 1-year deal with the Falcons. The deal is still yet to be official without a physical, something hard to achieve with the ongoing pandemic. Gurley will never get the same workload or production he once had during his peak with the Rams. The question is whether he can continue to be a productive running back in the NFL in a committee or limited role. Todd Gurley was in talk for MVP less than 3 years ago, and today we wonder if he will ever see another starting role. This has been the rise and fall of Todd Gurley.